You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN. And now, TSPN News with Tom Slivick. Comprehensive news because in today's world, you need more than just sound bites. TSPN, streaming on the World Wide Web, and now on demand at tspntv.com. You're watching Amador County's local...
Welcome to today's news in depth. I'm with Al Lennox. Most of you know Al Lennox and know of his dealings with Post 108 and the American Legion Ambulance, but Al is also the state committee member and representing the state of California. How are you doing, Al?
Hi, Tom. Nice to be here.
I'm glad you came once again, and of course, the VA, veterans, and veterans health care very much in the news, although it got knocked out of there for a while. I think it's coming back on. And let's talk to you about some of the parts that are being played right now.
Sure.
I understand that as recent as 2 weeks ago, you were back in Indianapolis representing California. What were the talks about? What was the discussion?
The discussion was about the current events in the VA system. The American Legion has been quite concerned about the VA for a number of years now, and for the past 2 or 3 years, we have been monitoring facilities around the country. We went so far as to put teams together to go into to VA facilities to examine them and to see how productive they really were. And the results were quite disturbing.
Al, when did you put these teams together?
The national,
the organization, the Veterans Administration.
The American Legion calls the Veterans Administration still at this time a system worth saving. We believe that. We don't believe it's the beginning of the end of the VA system, but we know that veterans are being underserved. We want to find out why. We want to make corrections, and we've recommended corrections to the Veterans Administration. Some they've implemented, some they've not. But the bottom line is today, as we speak, veterans are not receiving the veterans organization to call for the resignation of Secretary Shinseki. We considered it several years ago, but let's give the man a chance to try to correct. But the bottom line, there's been no improvement. Someone has to. The buck stops at the top, and the top was General Shinseki. We needed him. We need fresh blood in there. Someone who can go in there, take charge, make things happen in the VA system.
Well, I don't believe the VA, the Veterans Administration, and the American Legion looking at it believes that necessarily the Veterans Administration, the healthcare side, is capable. Is it? Do you feel it's capable? Do you feel it's a systemic problem because of it's a bureaucracy?
I believe the infrastructure is there. I believe the clinicians are talented, caring people. I think the bureaucracy is that government provides. There's no incentive to do the job in the correct way, and there's no accountability. And I think that's the biggest issue. You must have accountability. There's been none. We need to see some heads roll. We need to see some real take charge people come into these facilities and say, let's fix this problem.
Okay, so in your inspections, so to speak, or of looking at the different hospitals, clinics, if you would, are you looking more? In other words, you're finding the care side of it once you get in, or once you get through the paperwork, or
right.
Then the service you feel is fine.
The doctors, the nurses, the clinicians, they're doing a fine job. They really care. It's the access to that care that is problematic. And it's more than just, not only long delays and wait times, even getting into the system is critical. If you were to file a claim today, it might not be adjudicated for 6 months. And then if it was adjudicated in an improper manner, which we're finding more and more, that you have to file an appeal to seek the award that you deserve, and then that appeal might take a couple of years. And all this time, no service is being provided to the veteran or their families. And that's part of the matter, is getting into the system. Once you get into the system, the delays for appointments are horrendous, and there's no need for this. The infrastructure is there if it's managed properly.
How about the reports that we had heard of actually, I guess it would be the style or almost a way of making the wait times and things look okay, even though that wasn't the case. And it would seem that it was systemic throughout. So
Absolutely.
many of it. So
Absolutely.
it didn't seem like it was some idea that someone came up with at this hospital. Maybe they did, but then it would.
We go back to accountability, Tom. Who was providing oversight to these administrators who were forging documents that said that that wait times came down, the problems weren't there when they in fact were. Who was signing those? What happens to those people? The FBI is investigating. There may be criminal charges here. There's a lot of investigation that needs to happen, but right now but that's going to take time. What we really need is for the care to start happening for veterans that are coming back. And we have a lot of veterans with a lot of problems.
Okay, I understand there's a bill that has passed the House. It's gone through the Senate. I don't believe it's been signed on yet by the President, but that could be. And I believe in there are some ways that they can make it more easily to fire middle management when they find that. But also, I'm not quite sure, but is in that bill, is that where there's the vouchers, the ability for veterans who aren't being served or have problems that can't get in?
That's a huge
voucher program.
Voucher system is a huge issue, and I think it has to happen. If a particular facility is overwhelmed, people can't go thousands of miles to another facility. They need the ability to go somewhere else. We need to define clearly some times that for access to care. If certain parameters exist, they need to see a doctor within 2 or 3 days. If other parameters exist, at least 30 days. And if you cannot get that health care in that time frame by that facility, you should be able to go to somewhere else. And that's where the voucher system will come in and allow veterans to get that care in a timely manner.
I just, hearing your answer, I'm thinking myself, like if it's hard to handle the system that you have in place, when you put another system out there and try to integrate that, it seems that will be a very demanding job.
Oh, tremendous job. And there are several excellent candidates that are being looked at by the federal administration to oversee the VA, but certainly I think there needs to be issues like span of control, accountability, and some people need to lose their jobs over this
I had heard, on talk radio, some people that call in that seem to have some credentials that say, well, I do this, I've been a CEO at hospitals and things like that, and they had said, I could probably talk to some of the people on the desk and in just about 10 minutes' time get an idea of that culture that they had going on there.
Right.
And one of the problems that he saw, he was saying that CEOs average in hospitals about 3 years, and then they move on to something else. And it's very demanding or whatever, but since the VA has people there for so long, they might not see the problems that they have because they don't recognize them. They're so slow in coming or so long that when a new person gets there and you ask a question, why are we doing it this way? Because it's the way we always did it. And maybe that just stays there. So is the teeth in seeing if this works, the American Legion looking at it and being, as you would, a watchdog group to see if indeed the changes are being made?
We are advocates for veterans. We are advocates for veterans' health care. We have established these teams. Right now we have a team in Phoenix. We have a team on the East Coast visiting these facilities that are having problems, asking questions, asking what they're doing about it. We're also holding town hall meetings in these cities.
All right.
For veterans to hear their problems. We're going into cities around the country, the American Legion is, and having these town hall meetings and saying, how's your service? What's the problem? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? And make recommendations to us. What do you think is going to make the difference? And I think the American Legion is going to have significant impact on the changes as we go on with this. But right now, Tom, I have to tell you, the last couple of years we've got nothing but lip service.
Right.
No more lip service. No
Right.
more lip service. Heads have to roll here. Heads have to roll, and people have to understand that the care of veterans is an important matter.
It would seem this measure of being able to get vouchers, and I'm not sure how well that's working now, or how soon it can come on and work well, because it's somewhat fine to say we're working on this and that, but there are lives at stake, people's health at stake, and this is it's not something you can do slowly. The emergencies of the situation needs to be addressed, seeming to me, first, and then we fix this as we go along. Do you agree?
I agree absolutely, Tom. And that's why we need to have those vouchers or some quick fix. Quick fix doesn't have to be a permanent fix, but it has to be a quick fix. So these folks that are in dire straits, dire need right now, have somewhere to go.
Okay.
We have to get it.
I think we're going to take a break now, and then when we come back, maybe we can talk a little bit more about how they go about getting this quick help, if you can enlighten us on that, and we'll talk about more subjects, all right?
We'll bet.
Stay with us right here on TSPN. We'll be right back.
You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader,
Like,
TSPN.